Well, it's me again. Not only did I kind of butcher the end of that last video, I kind of forgot a couple things I wanted to add in there. Plus, it was getting long. So the second, if you remember the last one, I gave you both examples on the second number two here. This -1 minus 1 and -4 minus 2 was when I read the numbers this way, from that one to there and that one to there. And on the second example, I read them the other way. Again, as long as you don't go both different, two different ways, you're fine. No two-way streets, only a one-way street from 1 minus -1, then 2 minus -4. That was this way, and I was going downhill there. But I forgot a couple things. I forgot a couple things, and I forgot the table. So what we forgot to do was, what do you do, lo and behold, if your line is going like this? We talked about it briefly. I think you might try and remember, oh yeah, that's horizontal or vertical, and it's something special. Use the slope formula, and you can't go wrong. Use the slope formula, and it won't go wrong. We have 5 change in y over change in x. 5 minus 5 is 0. 6 minus -1 is 7. You get 0 over 7. The slope will be 0. Any horizontal line, the slope will be 0 because there is no change in the rise. There is no rise. It's going to be 0. 0 divided by any 0 divided by a number is going to be 0. So all horizontal lines have a 0 slope. On the same token, all vertical lines, there is a rise, but there is no run. So when I plug in these numbers, if you're confused, just plug in the numbers. 6 minus 2 is the y value, 6 minus 2. 4 minus 4 is the change in x, 4 minus 4. You end up with 4 divided by 4. That is a undefined. You cannot mathematically divide by 0. So that is undefined. So when you have your vertical lines, the slope will be undefined. When you have your horizontal lines, the slope will be 0. Okay, we'll take notes on that. And the slope of any vertical line is undefined. Any horizontal line is 0. Now there's one more way to find slope. We've done rise over run by drawing the little triangle. We've used the slope formula. You also can use a table. And because table is kind of old school when we make a table of values. And remember, a table of values is simply ordered pairs written a little bit differently. You go x, 1 for x, up over 1, up 8 is an ordered pair. X is 1, y is 8. X is 7, y is 4 in this particular table. And since the points are on a straight line, you can just take any 2 points and use the slope formula. Let's pick, say 4 and 6. That's an x and a y value. Remember, we're looking at the numbers this way. That's the ordered pair, and I'll use this one here. Okay, these are the 2 ordered pairs, 4 and 6, 10 and 2. The slope formula is the change in the y's divided by the changes in the x's. This is where it could get confusing. You write the ordered pairs, you look at them vertically, but then we subtract them horizontally. So you can get mixed up by that, and then the y is down below. So the tables, if you're careful, are another pretty good way to find slope. So for the slope here, 6 minus 2 is the change in the x, change in the y value, the change in the rise. 4 minus 10, see how I'm going the same way? 4 minus 10 is the change in the rise over run. This is 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 minus 10 is -6. That can simplify to a slope of -2/3. Okay, so these tables right here, even though it's just a bunch of numbers, realize they're ordered pairs. You can subtract the rise over the run, and you can get your answer, your slope of 2/3. And it doesn't matter which numbers you choose. I can choose any pair I want, and I would get 2/3. Just to prove it to you, I'm going to do this one here, because some of you don't believe that. I'll use 1 and 8, and I'll use 7 and 4 again. Change in y over change in x, 8 minus 4, divided by 1 minus 7. Lo and behold, 1, that's a 1. 1 minus 7, I get 4 over negative 6. That simplifies again to negative 2 thirds. So negative 2/3 is the slope regardless of which number you use. Same example right here. Here's another table. Let's find the slope here. I'll use this number here, negative 1 and 5, and I'll use 1 and 1 because that looks like an easy one there. So let's go this way. Negative 5, change in y over change in x. Negative 5 minus 1. That's the y, change in the y values. Negative 5 minus 1. Divided by negative 1 minus 1. Negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. That simplifies to a slope of, drumroll please, 3. Slope of 3. So you now have another way to find slope. You may use a table. Remember that the ordered pairs typically are written vertically and the y values underneath. So you got to be careful as you set it up. But if you make sure it's the change in the y value divided by the change in the x value, you'll be okay. So we have 3 ways for slope. Rise over run. Slope formula, finding it from a table. All right, and slope is pretty important as we move on. So nice job today, and we'll talk to you later.